Hey
for the
guys,
brutalist.
so we are going
So
to be talking about our Oscar picks and predictions, as well as the movies that we thought were going to get nominated, how we feel about the nominations, any snubs that we're really in our feelings about, and so
electric.
on. So, Max, do you want to pull up our spreadsheet and where will we start?
I best actor, I guess.
Okay, so why don't you read off what we predicted would be nominated for Best Actor this year?
Okay. Well, we predicted our boy Tim Cham, which luckily was very correct. And we also got Ray Fiennes for Conclave.
Ralph Fiennes.
No, it's
In
Rafe
the
actually.
spreadsheet, it says Ralph.
That's how it's spelled, but that's you spell it,
What?
you pronounce it rape.
What? Okay.
Yeah, you didn't know that?
No, I didn't know that was funny.
Yeah, I don't know why
What
that's
the
the
fuck?
case.
His teachers must have hated him.
Um,
We also called Adrian Brody for The Brutalist and Sebastian Stan for The Apprentice. And jokingly, we predicted Adam Driver. Why is that green? Did he win?
no, because that was your number one pick.
That was
Remember,
my number one pick.
that was your favorite performance of the whole year. For
Obviously,
Megalopolis,
obviously a
obviously.
joke.
Uh, oh yeah, and Ethan Harris for Nickel Boys, which he didn't get. But what can you do? Who actually got that again? Was it? Oh yeah,
You
Coleman
should probably
Domingo.
pull up the
Yeah,
list
I
of
guess I'll
people as
do
well.
that.
Yes, we missed Coleman Domingo, and
Coleman.
that's it. So I would say we did pretty good. We got 4 out of 5.
Who's your pick slash prediction?
Um,
Um,
for my picks, I was hoping that Nick Holt would get a nom for Nosferatu,
he was good in
and
that.
that Jesse Plemons would get a nomination for Kinds of Kindness. I'm not super bummed about either of them not getting it though. Like, this is not the category that I'm really like in my feelings about the noms over. I don't know about
Daniel
you.
Craig though.
Daniel
Daniel
Craig.
Craig.
What was Daniel Craig in?
Queer.
Oh, fuck. Yeah,
That
okay.
was
I
like,
am pissed about that. That movie was so good. But I'm not surprised.
yeah,
Let's just
that
put
was
it that way. I
my
knew that
favorite
they were going to
performance of the
snub
year.
that movie.
Yeah, I guess so. Nothing for for Luca,
Yeah, I
my
can't
guy.
believe that they completely left Luca Guadagnino out.
Luda.
My little brother was saying that there's like some kind of like scandal surrounding Luca Guadagnino, like he's
What?
like a perv or something. So I'm wondering if
Since
like
when?
I don't
Hold
know. I
on.
haven't looked into it yet because I honestly don't want to know. I'm still reeling from the Neil Gaiman news, but I'm questioning if that has something to do with his omission.
Link between oh no, is it
What?
the
He's a
cannibalism
cannibal
thing?
too?
Okay, it's from 2022, so I don't see how that's relevant. Moving away from Call Me by Your Name. 2017. Yeah, this is all about the Call Me by Your Name
Yeah,
stuff.
it doesn't look like he's done anything. If anyone knows if Luca Guadagnino is secretly a horrible person, I mean, let us know. Um, but yeah, I'm not seeing any compelling reason for them to snub him, and I don't know why
Yeah.
we would even think that they did after the Babylon nomination last year. Like, let's be real, they don't care.
Wasn't that like 2 years ago?
Whenever it was, I have no sense of time.
Babylon's a weird thing to bring up. What did Babylon have to do with?
Wasn't the director of Babylon a horrible person? Am I thinking of a
No,
different
I don't
movie?
think so. Um,
Huh.
I mean, there's probably something like that. I mean, Amelia Perez has got all
Amsterdam.
kind. Oh
Amsterdam.
yeah, that didn't get nominated for
Yeah,
anything.
I'm. Oh,
No,
it didn't.
no.
Okay, you
Thank
might want to
God.
cut this
Thank
section out.
Yeah, okay. So yeah, we missed Coleman, but yeah, my pick. I mean, if Daniel Craig got nominated, that would obviously be it. But since he didn't, um, I'd probably say Adrian Brody, cause he really carried that movie. It's probably his best performance in a long time. At least you haven't seen The Brutalist yet. We're gonna see it later today. Maybe this was a weird time to record
So
this, but
excited for that.
oh yeah, I bet you are. Uh, but actually, I might go with Sebastian Stan honestly, because he that was a very impressive performance.
I mean, he did a good job. I have to say, like, you would think that like someone like Donald Trump would be like easy to perform, but I feel like he's such an exaggerated person that you have to get it just right to feel like realistic without being like a parody of someone who already feels like a parody. And I feel like he walked that line really well. Was he my favorite performance in the film? No, that would have to go to Jeremy Strong. But definitely it was a good performance. I enjoyed that movie.
Yeah, he didn't do the voice either. That's good. He did a voice, but it wasn't like the Donald Trump voice. And
Yeah,
I
I
think
wonder
that
why.
helped. Because I think
Do
it
you
would
think
just
he
come off too
didn't
comical.
sound like that? Yeah, maybe. But also, I was wondering if maybe he like kind of put the voice on over time.
No, I think he's always sounded like that, honestly.
If
I
anyone
mean,
knows if he's always sounded like that,
yeah.
let us know.
Yep. Okay. Yeah, but in terms of predictions, I don't know. I could see it going to Tim Jam, even though I don't think he deserves it too much. I haven't seen the movie, but like, come on, it's just Bob Dylan. Apparently, according to Bob Dylan fans, he didn't even sound that much like Bob Dylan too. He's kind of goofy
I
instead.
am so cynical. I know how much the Oscar loves a musician biopic, no matter how trash. Did the Elvis guy get the Oscar?
Did he? I can't remember.
Did Rami Malek? Like, does it just get
I can't
nommed?
remember. But anyway, we're talking about these Oscars. So let's get back to that. My luck for prediction, I think it's going to be Adrian Brody. In all honesty, I think they're not going to go with Tim Cham. I think Adrian Brody makes the most sense. It's got the most buzz around it. He's like a veteran at this point. And I think Tim Cham will have his day in the sun sometime later.
I don't know if I'm just being cynical. This is hard, but I'm torn between Tim Cham and Sebastian Stan. I'm gonna go with Sebastian Stan.
Okay. Yeah, maybe. I don't know. We'll have to see. Of course, with all of these.
Okay, moving on
yeah.
to what's the next one on the.
Well, who was your pick? Who's your favorite of those?
Oh, my pick.
Ray Fiennes?
No, not Ray Fiennes. Daniel Craig. I mean, I know he wasn't nominated, but like in an ideal world,
Yeah.
I guess, yeah, okay. Like from the people who were actually nominated, yeah, Ray Fiennes. You know me well.
Okay. Okay, supporting actor, I guess, is next. I did Yuri Borisov, but it's Yura Borisov. Whoopsies. Yeah, so we got, Yura Borisov for what is it? Honora? Yeah. There's a Kieran Culkin for Real Pain. Ed Norton for A Complete Unknown. Guy Pearce in The Brutalist. Man, we really gotta watch that. And Jeremy Strong. Who is the strongest one?
I'm actually very happy with the actor choices. We predicted Jeremy Strong, Yuri Borisov, and Guy Pearce. We were thinking that Brendan Wilson for Nickel Boys. We made a lot of predictions for Nickel Boys that did not come to fruition. And
No.
Harrison Dickinson, honey, who is that?
It's supposed to be Harris Dickinson. He was a guy in Baby Girl.
Oh
He
yeah,
was also in Triangle
we
of
were
Sadness.
expecting Baby Girl to be good, but
Yeah.
we've heard that it's not. We haven't seen it yet.
Yeah, all these movies we
I would have
haven't
loved
seen.
to see one of the actors from Challengers, but I kind of assumed that they wouldn't because we figured it would be too confusing for the poor Oscars to figure out which one of those guys was a supporting actor, which one was a
Yeah.
lead. They went with neither. My pick would. It's really hard to choose between Jeremy Strong and Yura Borisov. I would prefer to see it go to Yura Borisov because he's a new actor and this might be his only chance to get an Oscar. And I really liked
definitely.
his character. He did so much, even though he had like so little dialogue. He acted so well and like he communicated so much with his acting. So that's how I feel.
Yeah, I agree. He was a great character in that movie. Yeah, I have nothing to add to that. I just agree. Yeah, but I don't know. I feel like, I don't know. It would be really nice to see it go to Jeremy Strong. because of Succession, I
Succession.
guess. But like he actually, I mean, he's yeah, I mean, you're right. He probably will get another chance in the future because it seems like he's gonna keep like taking on these super like capital A acting type roles.
And he's gotten a lot of like recognition in terms of like Golden Globes and other awards.
Yeah,
So,
Emmys.
yeah, like, he's gotten his laurels in a lot of ways already.
Yeah, that's true. But like, I don't know. If I'm just thinking about like who like did the most like character like immersion type impressive like body stuff. Like if you look up Roy Cohen interviews, like you see him like doing like the head nodding thing. Like that's like a weird tick that like he did really well in the movie.
Yeah, that's one thing that, like, again, I just think is like representative of one of the strengths of The Apprentice as a whole is all of the characters did a fantastic job of playing their characters. I think we also have to think about Ivanka Trump because I feel like she did a really good job also.
Yeah, she was really great. I think we predicted her for a nom, but she didn't get it. Yeah, so yeah, it's interesting to see that he's going up against Kieran Culkin as well, considering they're both in Succession, obviously. But I I don't know. A lot of people, I guess, are pulling for Kieran in A Real Pain, but we did not like A Real Pain very much.
I was not a fan of A Real Pain. And also, it feels weird to me that Kieran Culkin is the only person who's gotten a nomination for that movie, and I object to
Really?
that.
Who else do you think should get a nomination?
I don't think anyone should get a nomination, but I
Okay.
think if they're going to nominate someone, it shouldn't only be Kieran Culkin.
He kind of other people have observed this as well. I've seen like on Reddit and stuff. He kind of does the same character with just like variations, which is
Yeah.
kind of accurate. Like the emotions he pulls out are really good for the most part, but like, comparing that to like Jeremy Strong, who like really, I already said this, but immersed himself in the character. Like I just feel like there's not really much of a comparison there.
I think between the two, I would prefer that it go to the eldest boy.
Oh, you didn't. I'm the eldest boy. Where's the logic? Okay. Not gonna get bogged down in that. Yeah, so either Jeremy or Yuri, I guess. But yeah, I think I'm gonna go with Yura, because yeah, Jeremy Strong will probably get a chance in the future.
Is that your prediction or your pick?
No, my prediction is it'd be so nice to go to him, but it's probably not gonna go to him. But it might go to him. You never know. I don't think it's gonna go to Ed Norton. We didn't mention it, but Guy Pearce was really awesome in The Brutalist. Him and Adrian Brody have a lot of great chemistry. I could totally see it going to him, honestly. And them just kind of picking the same movie over and over again across multiple categories is kind of an Oscars thing as well. So yeah, I think I'm gonna lock down Guy Pearce, honestly.
For the same reason, since I predicted Jeremy's or not
Sebastian?
Jeremy's Sebastian Stan, I'm gonna predict Jeremy Strong.
Alrighty. That would be nice. Actress in a leading role.
So who was actually nominated for this?
We got Cynthia Erivo for Wicked. Duh. Carla Sofia Gasson for Amelia Perez. Mikey Madison for Honora. Demi Moore for The Substance. And Fernanda Torres. And I'm Still Here, that Brazilian movie that everybody seems to love. Still haven't seen it. Still haven't seen that one.
I gotta watch that one. We predicted Cynthia because obviously. Who else did we predict? We predicted Mikey Madsen and Madison. I messed that up, but that's actually it. Initially, I had predicted that Amelia Perez was going to get a lot of noms, and then I heard about how foul it was, and I was like, no, surely they wouldn't. I don't know why I thought that obviously they would, and they did, and it's depressing. But I'm really pleasantly surprised to see Demi Moore for The Substance because they never do horror movies. I'm guessing that it's because they campaigned on like Demi Moore has never gotten an award story, and that's why it's here. I don't know. What do you think?
Yeah, that's probably part of it. And that's a good reason to predict it for the win, honestly. It would be really weird if it got it, but I still think it might get it,
She
honestly.
did already get a Golden Globe. How much
Yeah, she got the
crossover is
Golden
there with
Globe.
like the Golden Globes and the Oscars? Do they try to like be different from each other, or do they copy a lot?
They usually copy a lot,
Okay.
except for Amelia Perez and Challengers, it seems. But the other thing is that there's like two categories for actor in the Golden Globes, so that kind of complicates things because they break it up by like genre, and the genres don't make any
Yeah,
sense.
isn't it like horror and musical or
Yeah,
something?
yeah, something like no, it's comedy and musical, and then all the horror movies end up in that category for some reason.
So
So
weird.
yeah, yeah, Mikey Madison ended up in the comedy section, which is really weird to me.
I am obviously really hoping that Mikey Madsen is going to win. I think she 100% deserves it for Honora, and I'm rooting for her, but
Yeah, same.
I think it's probably going to go to Cynthia Erivo, honestly.
Yeah, that would kind of suck. We didn't like Wicked either, by the way. But I mean that's the big film this year. I wouldn't be surprised if we got Best Picture. But yeah, I would also pick Mikey Madison. Fernanda Torres is kind of a sleeper. She could get it based on how much buzz that movie's getting, and that actress as well, I guess. Um, I'm always skeptical of Brazilian films on Letterboxd because there's like a really big Brazilian community on Letterboxd. Uh, but even outside of that, it seems to be getting a lot of buzz, so that's cool to see, I guess. Um, yeah, I think I'm gonna pick Demi Moore though. I partially want it to be Demi Moore, but I can honestly see it being Demi Moore, even though I didn't love The Substance. It's kind of shallow, but the sob story and everything.
You're falling
Um,
for this sob story. I mean, I
I
wouldn't
think
be
they're gonna fall
sad
for the
if she
sob
won.
story.
Yeah, it does seem like kind of likely. I was torn between that and Cynthia. Um,
Yeah,
yeah.
hopefully not Amelia Perez, but we'll see.
Oh
Uh,
my God. So the official
uh,
nominees were Monica Barbaro for A Complete Unknown, Ariana Grande for Wicked, Ariana, Felicity Jones for The Brutalist, Isabella Rossellini for The Conclave, who
the
I was
Conclave.
hoping for, and
Yeah.
Amelia Perez again.
Yeah, I don't feel strongly in this category, honestly. Felicity Jones was good, but like she didn't like I don't know. She didn't add tons to the movie. Uh and like I don't know, she was far from the best performance in the film either. Uh Monica Barbaro I can't comment on. Ariana Grande kind of wasn't great to me,
You
but
know, I actually think
Wicked.
Ariana Grande did like a good job of performing her role. But I would hate to see that movie get it because the cinematography makes me want to throw up. And
That's a different category
I know it's
though.
a different category, but also I would prefer to see it go to Isabella Rossellini.
Yeah.
And also I have this sick feeling that like they would give it to Ariana and not give it to Cynthia, and that would just be like so fucked up.
Oh, that would fucking suck. Uh, yeah. Yeah, it'd be nice to see it going to Isabella, I guess, but she wasn't like in the movie a lot, so it'd be kind of weird.
Yeah, I don't feel super passionate about any of these people winning.
Yeah, same. I guess I would choose Isabella, just kind of reluctantly. Um,
I almost want to choose Ariana, like just in terms of who acted the best. I haven't seen The Brutalist yet, but I do feel like Ariana Grande's performance was like
Come
the
on.
best one here.
I don't agree with that, but
I
that's
do.
fine. Yeah, I don't know. For a prediction, I'm just gonna throw Monica Barbaro because why not? Complete Unknown's probably gonna get something. What about you?
Um, I'm predicting Ariana Grande as well.
Okay, fair enough. Uh, Animated feature. Very happy about this one. because our favorite film of the whole year.
When we
probably.
were doing our like dream Oscar list, Memoir of a Snail was nominated for I think what every category.
Yeah, I think
Yeah,
so,
every
which would never
category.
ever happen.
But it deserves
But
it.
yeah, we were also talking about how it's really funny that they never nominate voice acting performances, but it's an entire category that they never nominate. So you'd think they'd just make a separate category for it, but they
No.
haven't done that either. I would love for Sarah Snook to get a nomination,
And we were
but
just
nope.
talking about how animated movies only get nominated for animated movies, and then they nominated The Wild Robot for Best Sound and Best Score. And I just want to say, as someone who loves The Wild Robot books, those movies were offensive to me.
There was one movie.
That movie was offensive to me.
Oh.
It did such a terrible job. It ruined a charming and beautiful story. And I don't understand what was so great about the sound or the soundtrack for
Yeah,
it
I
to
don't
be like one
either.
of the only animated films to get nommed for another category. Like, I'm so confused.
Yeah, I've already forgotten about the score.
It
The
was
only
just like super like generic.
Yeah, the only thing I can think of that was notable was just like the scene where he was sliding down the hill and like he gets hit in the face by the twigs and
The
it like
robot
syncs with the
is
music. That's
a
like the only
lady.
thing. What? Yeah, that's how it's supposed to be, right?
You said when he was getting hit in the face.
Oh yeah. I'm sorry. She was getting hit in the face. Um anyway.
I mean, I don't know. We don't really know what her gender identity
Okay,
is.
let's get to the nominations. Flo, Inside Out 2.
Which I loved.
Memoir of a Snail. Wallace and Gromit: Vengeance Most Foul, which we have not seen.
We have not seen it yet, but
And
I'm
we haven't
excited.
seen Flo either. We gotta watch
I
Flo.
love Wallace and Gromit. Yeah, we haven't seen any of these, so we can't really speak to it.
Nice,
Well, we've seen The
except for
Wild Robot and
Wild
Memoirs of a
Robot.
Snail, and I've seen Inside Out 2 times.
Yeah, I don't know. Pick is pretty obvious. I think it should be Memoir of a Snail. But it was nowhere near as popular as The Wild Robot, and it's not a DreamWorks property.
Is Wild Robot a DreamWorks property?
Yep. You remember like the whole Shrek intro and all that?
Okay, so Disney owns how many of these movies?
Inside Out 2, I think, is the only one. Right?
Okay,
Because DreamWorks is
so-
Universal.
Yeah, so my pick is Memoir of a Snail, and my prediction is Inside Out 2, because we all know
God,
Disney
that
has
would
to give
suck.
themselves
That
a
would
movie.
suck so much.
I just feel like Memoirs of a Snail, from what we've seen of these, is so many leagues beyond any of these other movies. Like, I think it could win Best Film easily.
Yeah,
It
was
deserves some Best
amazing.
Actor nominations. Like, so it's kind of depressing to me that I'm pretty much already sure that they're not going to give it to it.
Yeah, yeah. Sarah Snook really is like amazing in that film.
When
One
do
of
you
my
have
best
to make
performances
dinner?
of the year. I don't know, a half hour maybe. Yeah, I could see it going to Flow as well though, honestly, because it's kind of experimental in a way, and it's pretty popular too. But I think I'm gonna pick Wild Robot or predict Wild Robot because it's big. It's a
Damn.
big thing. Yeah, I could go with Inside Out too if I was like super cynical, but I refuse. And I don't think it's gonna happen either.
It was a good movie. It made me cry both times.
Yeah, that's good.
It's a good movie to watch with your little sister.
Cinematography. We got The Brutalist, Dune 2, Amelia Perez, the Pablo Larraín movie from this year because they always give it to a Pablo Larraín movie.
Maria is her name.
And Nosferatu. Hey,
So happy
pretty
to
nice
see
to see
Nosferatu
that.
nominated. I love that movie. I know more than you did. For me, it's a 10
I
out
really
of
loved
10.
it though. Yeah, I don't think it's that great, but I
And
loved it.
I
as
think
well.
the cinematography might be the best part of the movie, so I'm so happy to see this nomination.
Yeah, cinematography was dope. Kind of silent film-ish in a way, kind of aping that, which was cool to see.
There are just so many moments that I can vividly recall, like the low-lit indoor scenes in the Roma town and the scene where the carriage pulls up to take him to the castle.
Oh yeah, that was sick.
The scene where Nosferatu is kind of like zipping around the room by the fireplace on their first encounter.
Zipping
the
is a funny
shadow,
way to say it.
the shadow.
Yeah, all
hand
the
going
shadows
over
were
the city.
sick.
Yeah, so many cool, like, shadowy shots. Just the vibes were immaculate. As someone who has been into Dracula lore from a young age, who's read the books, played the board games, etc., I feel like he nailed the aesthetic.
Yeah. I suppose you could say it could have gotten nominated for more things.
I feel it should have, yeah.
Yeah, but they gave The Lighthouse like a cinematography nom, so I guess it makes sense to give this one a cinematography nom as well. Anyway, there's some good picks in here. I mean, I Pablo Larraín, I believe, always has good cinematography in his movies, even though I haven't seen any of his movies.
What
Um,
were our predicted nominations for
we
cinematography?
predicted we got Dune, we got The Brutalist, we predicted Anora because it looks awesome, but that didn't pan out.
We cynically predicted Conclave instead of Nosferatu because we just assumed that they weren't going to nominate Nosferatu.
And we even more cynically predicted Amelia Perez, and we were right about that.
We were right.
Yay.
So
I think I
sad.
literally was just like, oh, they're probably going to give it like tons and tons of Oscars, so why not throw it in there? And they did. Yeah, Conclave looked great too.
But it was very like subtle, so I
hmm
can see why they wouldn't nominate it because they tend to go for like obvious.
Yeah, and like I guess the production design is more like the star of the show
Mm.
with that one. Yeah, but Dune and The Brutalist both had awesome cinematography. Dune had some really weird things happening, like the black and white planet at one point. That was
Probably one of my
weird.
favorite parts. It's super cool.
Yeah, that was very cool. The Brutalist did the whole VistaVision thing, which nobody's done since 1961 or whatever the hell.
But it didn't feel
Um,
gimmicky, from what I've heard.
no, I mean it's just a format at the end of the day. It doesn't really change much of anything, but like I guess they consider that when. But besides that,
Wasn't there a movie that came out and it was like super super hyper letterboxed just for the for the sake of like doing something different?
yeah, I think that movie Women Talking was like in 275 or something crazy, and I don't know. I haven't seen the movie. Maybe it works really well, but
I've heard good things about that movie.
yeah, maybe we should give it a watch. Yeah, I mean, besides that, The Brutalist does look really cool and vivid and like dynamic, I guess. There's some cool like all the shots of like the machinery is cool. Like they do some like really high shutter speed stuff with the machines. I'm just throwing out random like camera words now. But yeah, it was good even though it felt very like PTA core for the most part, which
Mm.
seems to be more and more popular these days. Yeah, I think it will probably go to Dune. I feel like Dune has to get something, right? And it didn't get nominated for that many things, surprisingly. Should have gone a best. I mean, we'll get to that in a little bit, but yeah, I don't know. I think it's more likely to get a bunch of technical stuff, and it basically only got nominated in the technical categories anyway. But it could also go to The Brutalist. My pick would be Nosferatu, honestly, but yeah, I think I'm gonna predict uh Dune.
Yeah, same. And I mean, I wouldn't be that unhappy. Like, I love Dune and everything, but definitely I think Nosferatu deserves it and that it has the best shot at this category, theoretically. So I hope it gets it.
It would be sweet. It would be sick, but who knows? Costume design. We got a complete unknown again, cause biopic. We got Conclave, Gladiator 2, um, Janty Yates. Okay. Nosferatu again. Very nice. And Wicked.
I mean, the costumes in Wicked did eat, so that makes sense. Um,
Yeah, you liked Ethan Slater's
oh my god,
get up.
Ethan Slater, that was so
Like
awkward.
that witch's hat.
No, I liked a lot of the outfits, especially Glinda's outfits were cool.
Is it
Um,
Glenn or Glinda?
it's Glinda. It's
I was
Glinda.
making an Ed Wood reference.
Um, I would like to see it go to Nosferatu. I think it's gonna go to Wicked because they usually give costumes to movies like Wicked.
It's the most overt costumey movie, I guess. Well, I mean, a lot of these are really overt, except for Complete Unknown. I don't know why that had to get a nomination in this
They
category.
like period piece
Yeah, I
costumes.
know that, but it's just the 60s. Like, it's not that difficult to emulate.
Hey, a lot of those people voting were probably growing up in the 60s.
Yeah, that's true. And it's not even like the psychedelic 60s. It's like the folk scene. Like, why does that? Whatever. Yeah, Conclave was very cool. Their Pope costumes, all
It
that.
feels weird for me for them to get it because like their clothes just look like what the priests wear in the Catholic Church. Like it feels
Well,
like they didn't have
that's a
to like
good thing.
create them, and I'm a little more like
They
for
did have to
creativity. I
create
feel
them.
like bonus points. No, I know they had to physically make them, but like in terms of design, a lot of the work was already done for them.
Yeah, I guess so. Although they did change the color. It's probably gonna go to Wicked. I'm gonna pick Nosferatu, obviously, but it's probably gonna go to Wicked. It's a new day, and we watched The Brutalist together in a theater on 35 millimeter, and we may have some changed opinions. Yes, we may. Um, I'm wondering if you feel differently about any of those categories now that you've watched The Brutalist.
Yeah, I would prefer Adrian Brody to win Best Actor. I
Oh.
think he did a great job. I am looking at supporting actress. So for picks, yeah, out of the options here, yeah, so I think actually for my pick would change to Felicity Jones. I loved Isabella Rossellini, but I just don't think that I'm kind of surprised, honestly, to see that she got a nomination because, like, she wasn't in Conclave very much. And her performance didn't have, like, a huge, like, range either of emotion, which I guess makes sense since she's playing, like, an emotionally repressed Catholic woman, but still. So yeah, I would switch over to Felicity Jones because I think she did a really great job. But I still think, like, in terms of predictions, that Ariana Grande will probably get it.
What do you think of the cinematography and the score?
I was
think we've
blown
talked
away
about
by the score. I think in terms of cinematography, in terms of picks, I could really go with The Brutalist or Dune. I still predict that. Actually, this is hard. It's hard to know with the Oscars, right? But I think in terms of prediction, I don't think they're going to give 2 to The Brutalist. And if it's between if it's between cinematography and production design, I feel like they're more likely to give it production design. My pick would still be Nosferatu. My prediction is still Dune. I don't think that's changed.
Yeah, I don't know. We can move on, I think. Like, there's nothing else that we really need to address.
Okay.
Oh, what about Guy Pearce? What do you think of Guy Pearce? Do you think he was better than Jeremy Strong? Do you think he might win it?
Guy Pearce played the fucker.
I guess
the
so.
evil man. Yeah, he was fine. I think Jeremy Strong was way better. I really liked that performance a lot.
Yeah. What about your prediction, though? Did that change?
No, I still am predicting Jeremy Strong as well.
Okay. That would be swell.
Are you predicting Guy Pearce?
I wouldn't be surprised. I'd like it to be Jeremy Strong. But I don't know. I could imagine a universe where it doesn't go to Guy Pearce, honestly.
Is he like a big favorite with them or something?
I don't think so.
I mean, I felt like his performance was like solid, but again, like it's not like there was a huge like scope.
Yeah, I don't know. I thought there was a lot of like nuance. I mean, we can talk about it later, but like, yeah, I
mean,
I don't know. He's in like Memento, right? I don't think he won anything for that.
Maybe I'm not being like cynical enough because like I'm just thinking in terms of who I thought made the best performance, which is definitely Jeremy Strong, but who knows what they're gonna pick.
It is a much showier performance as well. I mean, it could go to Kieran Culkin.
Well, I don't think it's gonna go to Kieran, but also I do feel like they like when when actors play real people. For some reason, the Oscars seems to really like enjoy that, which I think gives Jeremy a leg up. And also, like, you know, I feel like they would probably want to award him for Succession. I don't know.
They do kind of do that too.
Yeah.
But it does kind of. It is legitimately like. It does legitimately help when you can like watch interviews of like Roy Cohen, and then like see the similarities. Like that does add a level of impressiveness.
Well, and they've done a
I
fair amount
suppose.
of campaigning around The Apprentice, have they not?
I don't know. I don't follow that stuff. All I know about The Apprentice is that distribution wouldn't touch it because of the cease and desists and all that stuff from
Yeah, I guess
Trump.
like you could consider a political angle. I feel like the Oscars will
Uh,
probably like, if anything, it being about fucking Donald Trump will make them more likely to choose it, not less likely, but it's hard to say.
yeah, it could go either way.
It's hard to say.
Yeah. Okay, directing. Well, we got Sean Baker. Hooray! High fives.
So I am a huge Sean Baker fan, and I really
Same.
want him to get it because he hasn't gotten it yet, and he deserves it so much. He's such a fabulous director. I don't think Honora is his best movie, but I think it was really good. That being said, I think Brady Corbett did a really, really good job with The Brutalist, actually.
Yeah, which is the next one. Mr.
So
Corbett.
in terms of picks, I'm actually very torn between Sean Baker and Brady Corbett.
The other ones are James Mangold, Jacques Audiard,
Yeah.
and Coraline Farjah, by the way.
Coraline Farjah for The Substance.
That's pretty nice. I
It would
really
be
like
nice
that.
to see like a woman director get it. Did
Yeah, and
Greta
a horror
Gerwig
director, no
and a horror
less.
director? Did Greta Gerwig get anything for Barbie last year?
No. I think
No.
it got one Oscar and it was like
Yeah.
costume or something.
I mean,
She didn't get
honestly,
the
like,
Dawn, which
I
is
don't
like-
think she's gonna get it.
I don't. Did she even get nominated for best director? She must have, right? I don't feel like fact checking, but like
I think so.
either she did or she didn't.
I'll
so
check.
there you go. Yeah, just complete unknown. I don't know. I guess James Mangold is a real darling. Jacques, I guess a lot of people are mad about that. Still haven't seen the movie, but like, yeah, I hope it doesn't. The fact that Denis or Guadagnino didn't get
I am
it
shocked by the
at all.
Guadagnino
Like, you can take out
snub.
2 of these and add 2 other directors.
Mhm.
That's all I'm gonna say. A
So-
lot of people are mad about Denis, which I get.
Yeah, but I think like Dune got so many noms last time, and maybe they're feeling like, and also wins.
What
like for
happened?
the first Dune movie.
It was 2021. Of course, it got a lot of wins. Nothing came out.
That's true. That's true. And it is
But
sad
it was
because
the
I feel
worst
like
movie.
Dune 2 is so much better than Dune 1.
Yeah.
But there's a lot of competition. Like, I'm not totally upset because it's kind of a relief to know that it's not competing with these other movies, which I think deserve it more.
Yeah, I guess. But, nominations still would have been nice over
So
James Mangold, in my opinion.
Greta Gerwig was
That's what
not
makes me upset.
nominated for Barbie, which
Oh.
is wild.
Okay.
So
Well, they
I'm
got a woman in
thinking,
this time.
well, this is what I'm thinking because people were mad that she didn't get a nom and that Margot Robbie did not get a nom for that movie. So I feel like they're thinking that they've done really well for themselves by even nominating a woman for Best Director this year. And I don't think they're going to go further than that. So I really don't see Coralie getting it, unfortunately.
Yeah. Well, it's not my pick anyway. I would pick Sean Baker.
But is The Substance Coralie's first like
Oscar
movie?
movie?
Not Oscar movie, just like first like big movie that she directed.
She had a movie before. It
Mhm.
wasn't nominated for any Oscars, though, or anything.
So
It was
she's
like
a new
low budget
director.
thing.
So
Newish,
it is
yeah.
nice to see like a new director. But like give her time, give her time.
Yeah. We'll see. It was very well directed. Lots of blazing colored palettes.
So the thing is, The Brutalist is such a lawn movie. And it had some really cool shots. Just the scope of the project was really wild. I assumed that it was based on a real person. It's not.
Yeah, it's like Tar.
Yeah, which is
Kind of.
so, but even more, right? Because like there was just so much like lore and like background. It was so well researched. You could tell that like he was like really like passionate about this and put so much effort into it. So I don't know. I feel like in terms of like the sheer amount of work that went into the film, I almost feel like The Brutalist maybe deserves it a little bit more, but I would be so happy to see Honora and Sean Baker get it too.
Yeah, I mean, I would personally argue that, I like the directing in Honora more, just because I feel like it knows itself a bit better, I guess. Like, the Brutalist is really ambitious, and I don't want to spoil my thoughts on the Brutalist because we're gonna talk about it after. But I don't know. It did feel a little like it almost seems like it was biting off a little bit more than it could chew at times, which is fine. And like I respect the ambition for like a relatively new director. I know he's made other stuff already, but like I don't know. I really like what Sean Baker does. Basically, that's the best way I can sum it up right now.
Yeah, I don't know. Personally, I disagree. I don't think he bit off more than he could chew, and I also think that he ate. So, anyways, we'll talk more about that when we talk about it.
I would predict. I mean, my pick is Sean Baker. I'd probably predict Brady Corbett, honestly, but it'd be so funny if it went to like Jacques Audiard. Which it might.
God, that would be depressing. I'm also gonna predict. Have we seen A Complete Unknown?
Nope.
So we still have to see A Complete Unknown. It's a biopic, though. It's a musician biopic. They love musician biopics. I can see it going to A Complete Unknown. I'm kind of torn between The Brutalist and A Complete Unknown. I haven't seen it yet, though. I think I do want to see it because I think it's going to be funny.
Documentary, we didn't watch any of them. Documentary short, we definitely didn't watch any of them. Editing. Sean Baker gets another nom since he also edited the film. The Brutalist again. David Jansko.
Might be Youngso.
Maybe. I don't know. Whatever. Conclave. Emilia Perez and Wicked.
I feel gaslit, like, specifically around not so much the editing, but the cinematography. And I know that this isn't the cinematography category, but I just need to get this out there. It didn't get a nom for cinematography, but there was so much hype around the shots of the movie. There was so much backlight in the movie to maybe like hide the CGI. That's like what my kind of thesis was for that, because it doesn't look good, but it also looks so like washed out at times. The color grading was super inconsistent.
Yeah, I don't think it's like a terrible movie, but I don't think it should be getting this many Oscar noms. Like, it's just one of those things where it's like, oh, it's so big, it's such a big thing, we can get more viewership if we nominate this movie. Because, yeah, I don't know. It's a very, very different year that we're having. Like, no, we don't have a Barbie, we don't have an Oppenheimer, but, like, Wicked is, like, the big thing. Which kind of, I don't feel great about.
It's hard for me to know, because, like, I'm not a musical person. But, like, I enjoyed the music, and I thought that, like, the story was interesting. I feel like I would probably enjoy the actual original Broadway musical, but it was the movie specifically and the execution of the choices around the dubbing was a big problem for me. The cinematography, the editing, the length, it really felt so like drawn out.
And it's part one of two.
It's part one of two.
It's a 5-hour experience.
I thought the performances were really good. Definitely one of the strengths. Obviously, again, like the vocal performances were amazing. But like a lot of the movie parts of it, I just didn't feel super like impressed or blown away by, and they kind of took away from what felt like had been like a really cool musical before the director touched it.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, in terms of editing for Wicked, I too long.
Don't do it. Give it to Denis. Give it to fucking challengers. Like, come on.
I am so shocked. Yeah, I don't know. They just, I'm noticing the Guadagnino snub and also the gay movie snub, and there's like overlap there. But like, what the fuck? They nominate this like transphobic trash fire, and then snub the two gayest movies of the year. Like, come on, guys.
Yeah. Well, anyway, yeah, I mean, editing in Anora is obviously great. I feel like his editing is such like a huge part of his voice as like a filmmaker. You can like see it across his whole filmography. It always has that like Sean Bakery feel to it.
He has a really good job of like playing with tension and like getting you to like experience like the emotions of his characters through the editing.
I don't know, also just like the chaos of his movies, like when people really start yelling at each other. Yeah, I can imagine that being really difficult to cut together, but he always does a really good job of that.
100%. Obviously, like, you can't really compare anyone to Altman, but I think Sean Baker reminds me the most of Altman in terms of the way that, like, his dialogue is done with, like, the people, like, talking over each other, which I love.
Two realists.
Yeah.
And the Brutalist also very, very well edited.
Yeah, the
for most
pacing in
part.
that movie was flawless.
Yeah. We'll get to it, but yeah, great pace. And Conclave. I don't want to stub Conclave from this discussion either, because that movie kept me on the edge of my seat.
That movie was so fun. It was so dramatic. It's weird. It felt like, I can only describe it as like a girl's movie. Like, it almost felt like watching like reality television. It's the same kind of high that I get from 90 Day Fiance.
Yeah, it's juicy.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I wasn't even expecting to like that one. I thought it was gonna be like Oscar baity, but like it was actually had a thing going on that I really enjoyed.
No, I think it was well edited. Oh, wait, did we even like make a pick and prediction for this category?
Yeah, I pick Honora.
Mm-hmm.
I would predict. I mean, I want to predict Honora because like if it did get it, I would be so happy. Even though it's not super likely, but I don't know. It's probably gonna be like The Brutalist or something.
I could go either way with Honora and The Brutalist once again.
It
Those
could
two
totally
movies
go
are
to
sitting on
Amelia
the top
Perez
of
as
my
well.
list. If it goes to Amelia Perez, I'm going to be depressed for a day. In terms of predictions, I'm predicting either The Brutalist or Wicked.
International feature. This year was like not a huge international feature here. Even like the ones that like I really wanted to see, like Universal Language, didn't even get a nom anyway. But Amelia Perez did.
I'm hoping that that's the only category Amelia Perez wins, if it wins anything. I'm also hoping that because of all of the pushback about the nomination, that they're just not going to give it anything.
Yeah, I mean, technically it's all up to the voters, but who really knows?
I think in terms of predictions, just based on like the buzz that I've been getting, that it's probably going to go to I'm Still Here. I mean, either I'm Still Here or Amelia Perez.
Yeah.
I hope I'm Still Here.
Sorry, go ahead.
I saw a trailer for it. So what is it? Is it like Dictatorship Brazil?
It seems that way.
So that's kind of cool. Yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing it. I have family who were there for Dictatorship Brazil, and I've heard like the horror stories. So it's gonna be interesting to see it. It looks like a cool film. I'm excited.
Judging by the trailer, it looks like something that the Oscars would like as well. Not to like throw shade at it or anything. Yeah, I mean it's definitely either gonna go to I'm Still Here or Amelia Perez, because those are the ones that are nominated for Best Picture. At least there's two of them, so then it's a little less obvious, but it's gonna be one of those two.
Isn't Flow a animated movie?
Yep, with no dialogue.
It is cool to see, some of these animated movies getting other noms. It does really enrage me that of the animated movies chosen, Memoirs of a Snail is not one of them. That was a foreign film.
Yeah, I guess so. Technically.
If you count Australia.
Okay, makeup and hairstyling is next. We got A Different Mon. Nosferatu, The Sustenance, and Wicked.
With the exception of Amelia Perez, all of these had really great makeup.
Wicked, though, it's just green.
Well, they've been campaigning hard about the green. Apparently, it was really difficult to choose the exact right shade of green.
Oh, really? And it still looks like shit,
have it
they
show
ruined
up
it in
well,
the color grade.
which they did. But also the micro braids, they've been campaigning hard about the micro. Really, they've been campaigning very hard for makeup and hairstyling. So I'm gonna predict that it's going to go to Wicked. Okay. In terms of who I think deserves it the most, my pick is Nosferatu. I think the makeup was really good in A Different Man too, so I wouldn't be unhappy if it got it. And same thing with The Substance. But my top pick is Nosferatu. The makeup was just so sick, especially the vampire's grody ass nails. Perfect. And his gross dick too, like just everything. It was great.
I think I blocked out the gross dick because I don't remember.
You don't remember it? Maybe I just imagined it.
No,
maybe.
other people have pointed it out too.
Yeah.
Though. It's not just you.
Oh, it was.
Yeah. A Different Man had very overt makeup, so I wouldn't be surprised if it went to that. Yeah, the only thing is just like Nosferatu and A Different Man is just kind of the same makeup for like the whole like the same two things or people or whatever. Whereas The Substance, it was like constantly changing, so I feel like I have to pick that in terms of like how impressive it is. Um, but I don't know if they're gonna pick it.
Yeah, I'm
It would be
surprised
cool
they
if it
even
did.
nominated this movie. I think the most likely winner for it, like we said, is like Demi Moore.
I thought it was the only nomination it would get, but I was wrong about that.
It's nice to say. I mean, the makeup was really cool in The Substance. Definitely, probably took the most work. I feel like it's probably that or The Different Man that is the most deserving. But I just loved the aesthetic in Nosferatu so much.
Fair enough. Yeah, I'd pick The Substance. And I'm gonna predict The Substance too, because it was popular enough.
Damn.
And it would be
Feeling
really cool if it
optimistic.
did. Yep, sure am. Okay, original score: The Brutalist, Conclavius, Amelia Perez, Wicked, two musicals, and The Wild Robot. Yeah, most of these nominations I'm not happy with.
We already
No
talked
Dune.
about the confusion over the Wild Robot nomination. I don't know who was bribed and for how much to get it nominated. Like, the score was so unoriginal. Who is Chris Powers?
I don't know.
Um,
I wish I
okay.
could tell you.
Daniel Bloomberg. What else?
Blumberg.
Blumberg. What else has this man done? Because I loved the score of The Brutalist. It was really cool.
Yeah, it was
Kind of
cool.
like Johnny Greenwoody, but a little more noisy.
I wouldn't say it was more noisy than Johnny Green, or at least not like, I don't know. I guess they're noisy in different ways.
Yeah.
And there are a lot of Johnny Greenwood scores that I love that are like the opposite of noisy.
Did you feel like it was Scott Walker inspired? Because we noticed that
yeah, dedicated to Scott Walker.
yeah, he's a big
Very
fan
cool.
of Scott Walker, which is the first time
Shout out.
I've seen a shout out for that guy.
Yeah, and he made a short film called The Day the Conductor Died, in air quotes, which is the name of a Scott Walker song, if anybody wasn't aware.
Here's your invitation to go check out Bish Bosh.
Yeah, good album. Yeah, this guy's composed almost nothing. The World to Come, never heard of it, but
Oh, it looks lesbian.
it does look pretty
Very
lesbian.
sapphic.
Casey Affleck, you.
Is he like a fucked up person? Oh, in a gay movie. Okay. All right.
Alright.
I see you.
I mean, we don't know if this is gay.
That looks pretty homoerotic
It's also
to
3
me.
minutes. They might be fighting because it says a confrontation between two swimmers
In a locker room. Hmm.
And this one, well, yeah, it'd be cool if he got it.
It would
'cause
be
he's a
cool if he
newcomer,
got
I
it.
guess.
And he did a brilliant job,
Yeah, he did.
but he probably won't get it.
I don't know. I mean, Conclave, the score's just frequent. Yeah, I'm worried it's gonna go to one of the musicals though. I'm just worried.
I think it's gonna go to
which is
Wicked.
funny because that's not really score.
How
but
is
whatever.
Wicked score an original score?
Good question.
Like, what?
Yeah, they've like snubbed scores because like they've been like takes on symphonies and things. So it's really funny that this one got an original score nomination. Okay, moving on. Let's maybe they
Did we
only
make
maybe they literally
predictions?
only mean the songs that are in like the background and aren't the musicals. But I couldn't tell you what any of those sound like because the musical is like 80% of the film. So that would also be really weird.
Okay. Original score, music original song nominees. Okay, so there's Almal from Amelia
There are
Perez.
2 Amelia Perez picks and nothing from Wicked, which is hilarious.
Which is really
Don't
alarming.
understand.
Well, because the songs aren't original songs. I just
Right,
don't understand
right.
how the score is an original score.
Okay, so they must have chosen like the score that plays in the other scenes that aren't
Yeah.
the musical numbers,
So
which
dumb.
nobody gives a fuck about.
They might give it to
It
Elton
must just
John.
be stupid voters. Like that
'cause,
must be
like,
it. They think that they're voting for like the musical numbers, but they're not.
Elton John is gonna die soon, and everyone likes
Aw.
him, so maybe they'll give it to him. That would be cute.
That'd be nice, but he has half the probability of getting it than another film is.
What
Categories,
movie is
yeah.
that song from?
An Elton John movie.
Is it?
Yeah, from
it's
Elton John, Never Too Late.
Oh, okay. I mean, I think
I
it's probably
did
going to
watch
go
it.
to Amelia Perez in terms of prediction. In terms of picks,
it's a
I guess
good
I'm going to
prediction.
pick the Elton John movie.
See if
We haven't seen any of the movies for these noms. Okay, so for Best Picture,
Oh, let's get to that last though. Come on. You know what I'm saying? Wow, the snow is really coming down out there. Okay, production design. We got the brutalist, thank God. I don't know if they actually built a building, but it seems like they built a building. So, I mean, I guess in every production design they build buildings for the most part.
The
except when they're
buildings
sets.
were so cool though, and again, I thought that they were all original buildings. They were based on original buildings. I thought that the buildings in the Brutalist were all like real buildings made by a real person, but they're just inspired. So definitely production design. I think the Brutalist deserves it the most.
Yeah, the fact that they made that, I mean, we can get to it, but
Yeah.
the budget was not high for that.
So our predictions for the production design category were The Apprentice, Dune, The Brutalist, Conclave, and Complete Unknown. And then as like bonus predictions, we did Nosferatu and Wicked. So
And
we did actually
Nosferatu
get
got
all
it.
of these. So
Nosferatu
happy to
fucking
see
got
that.
them.
So happy to see that.
So cool.
Um,
And Dune too,
I think
which I guess is nice.
The Brutalist and Nosferatu both deserve it. I think The Brutalist deserves it a little bit more.
Yeah.
I'm predicting that they're gonna give it to on a cynical day Wicked, on a non-cynical day The Brutalist. On a cynical day Wicked, on a non-cynical day The Brutal.
On a cynical day, Wicked. On a non-cynical
Don't say
day,
my
the
line.
Brutalist.
On a cynical day Wicked, on a non-cynical day just keep this whole thing in at this
All
point.
right. I don't know if the honk came in, but yeah, I'd obviously pick the Brutalist. It might go to Dune though, since they're not giving anything to Dune.
I don't think they're gonna give anything to Dune this year. I think they'll probably give it something for part 3. And
yeah. Some
yeah.
people were saying that like it's gonna get the Lord of the Rings treatment, and like the third movie is what's gonna get everything. We'll have to see. Yeah. Anyway, moving on. Talking about the Brutalist more soon. And Nosferatu, great.
so cool, but
Live
not as
action
cool as the
short.
cinematography.
Sound.
Okay, wait. Did they build the castle
These
in the
are
village
terrible.
though for Nosferatu?
Build the castle? I don't know.
Okay, so for sound we predicted. Did we not make predictions for sound? Oh yeah, we predicted Dune, A Complete Unknown, The Substance,
Right about that.
Furiosa,
Yeah.
Flo, and Amelia Perez. Possibly none of those.
Amelia
Oh wait, no,
Perez
we got
one. I
Amelia
don't know why we
Perez.
put it in
Why did we
red.
mark that as wrong?
Because I was just fucking up.
And Complete Unknown too.
Yeah, that was my cynical prediction, and it got it anyway. But I wasn't cynical enough apparently, because a Wild Robot got a nomination for Sound 2 for some reason. Not Flo, but a Wild Robot. Because I was expecting Flo, because there's no dialogue in that movie, so the sound really got it.
And again, I
stuff.
feel justified and I feel well within my rights to be critical of the movie because, like I've mentioned, I'm a huge fan of the books. Super disappointed by the movie. I think that
Wicked.
of these, Dune deserves it the most. Like, Dune has really great sound design.
Yeah, it does. I mean, seeing it in the theater is just like really something. Yeah, the sound in the Brutalist was good, but it doesn't go as crazy as you might expect. But
It
it's not
also hasn't been
nominated.
nominated.
Yeah, I thought I'd mention it.
Yeah, it deserved a nom for sure.
Yeah, probably. I mean, over Wicked, I don't get what's so special about the sound in Wicked, but go off.
I feel like just anything to do with audio, people voted for Wicked, but like there
Yeah.
was like the sound design was nothing like there were no like cool drones or anything like really like weird or
I'd
awesome
like
about
Wicked
it.
a lot more if it started with like an Inland Empire drone.
That would
really
be
cool.
so weird. David Lynch's Wicked, but David Lynch's Wicked would actually be so good because we know he is obsessed with the
Yeah,
Wizard of Oz.
that's just Wild at Heart. You
That
already
is
made
just
that.
Wild at Heart. Yeah,
We
I
already
know,
had
I know,
David
I know.
Lynch's Wicked.
Um,
And it's not a musical, which is a bonus.
in terms of predictions, I'm cynically gonna predict A Complete Unknown.
That'd be so funny.
But I think Dune deserves it. And I think if Dune gets anything, it would make sense for it to get sound. I don't know.
Yeah, I'm gonna pick Dune, and I'm gonna predict Dune too, cause it's Dune. Come on. Visual effects. What do we predict for this?
Dune, Furiosa.
Which got no recognition. I didn't
Yeah.
even watch it, but it's a Mad Max movie.
Yeah, we
It was
were
a big
kind of
bomb, though.
expecting that it would do
Alien Romulus.
good Gozilla, as you
Godzilla.
put it here
Yep.
in the substance.
Yeah, no Godzilla knob. Really fed up about that.
Nothing for the substance, I guess, because all the visual effects were like more makeup than visual effects.
Yeah, it blurs the lines, which is just too confusing for the poor Oscar voters. But what got nominated? I mean, Alien and Dune got Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes, which I guess should have been predictable, but I forgot that came out. Or maybe I never even knew that it did. I don't know. And also that movie Better Man, about that like UK musical artist that nobody knows in North America, but UK like is big into all
Yeah, that was
stuff.
surprising to see. I don't think it's gonna get it though.
Yeah, because he's like a monkey.
Huh?
He's a monkey. He's a monkey in the movie.
Oh,
They
okay.
made him a monkey for some reason. I think the literal story behind it is like the director asked the musician like, "What's your spirit animal?" and he said something like chicken or something. It wasn't chicken, but
Not a monkey.
something like that. Yeah, and he was like, "No, do something better, like a monkey." And he was like, "Okay."
What the fuck? Who is it about?
What's his name? Robbie Williams.
Robbie Williams?
Do you know him?
I've heard of him.
Oh,
One
you're the
second.
first person ever known. Who's
Okay.
familiar. He looks like
He's had
Who
too
does
much
he look
plastic
No,
surgery.
he hasn't.
I don't think he
mean,
has.
that's
I
not
think
what
he
was
just
gonna
looks
say.
like oh, the hair is a choice.
Yeah, who does he? There's somebody he really resembles, and I can't think of who at the moment. He looks like Mark Kermode, kind of, but not really. Let's move on.
So in terms of we didn't
Sorry,
make any picks or
sorry,
predictions.
sorry.
You were done with this category clearly.
Yeah, we talked about the Better Man.
I think they're probably gonna give it to Wicked, and I don't feel strongly about what it should go to. So I guess Dune.
Yeah, that goat. He's goated. Yeah, I mean, I would like it to go to Dune, and I think it will go to Dune. That Black Sun, ooh, so cool. Okay, writing. Adapted screenplay. A Complete Unknown, adapted from the song. Conclave, adapted from the book. Amelia Perez is adapted by something, I didn't even know that. Nickel Boys gets a nom. Haven't seen it yet, but I'd like to. I heard it's really great, but
You know who else got
Knee slapper.
snubbed this year? Fucking Mike Lee, man.
Sing Sing also got a nom. What was I gonna say? Oh yeah, people were theorizing on the internet and Reddit and stuff that Challengers might have gotten more noms if it came out in late 2023, like it was apparently supposed to.
That's so stupid.
Although I don't have the facts for that.
That
But yeah, it's probably true. They have recency bias when it comes to this shit.
okay, but that movie deserved.
At least a score.
The
Should've
that
gotten
movie
editing.
deserves so much. Like
Should have got a screenplay. Screenplay's fucking awesome.
Yeah.
It's super cool. And like fucking Potion Seller wrote
just
it. Like,
everything
you
about
can't-
it. Everything about it. Yeah,
What can you
and
say that about?
they normally like giving Trent Reznor and Atticus Ross.
Yeah, I gave him a Golden
Noms.
Globe for heck's sake. We're still
Yeah.
recording.
Yeah,
Okay.
we're still recording.
Just making sure.
Okay, so in terms of predictions,
Yeah,
it's hard to know
tough.
because I haven't seen
think it's gonna go to
anything
Complete
here
Unknown.
except for Conclave. I'm excited to watch Nickel Boys and Sing Sing. I'm not gonna watch Amelia Perez. I just refuse. I'm not watching a racist, transphobic movie. A Complete Unknown. I'm excited to watch for different reasons, but so I'm just gonna pick and predict Conclave for now.
Okay. Yeah, I don't know. My pick, I guess, would be Conclave because it's the only one I've seen technically. But
I mean, it is well written.
I don't know. I would like it to go to Nickel Boys because I've heard such good things about it, and it looks good. I don't know. I'm gonna pick Amelia Perez because I feel like I have to pick it for something in order to not be like shocked and stunned when it eventually wins like 5 Oscars, at least. So you know, at least then I'll like soften the blow a little bit.
We
And
predicted Wicked, Nosferatu, Dune, Queer because Queer,
Queer
oh
would be
my
so great if that
god,
got a
deserved it
nomination,
because those
'cause-
books are notoriously impossible to
Yeah.
adapt.
I mean, not as much so as like Naked Lunch, but still, like if you're gonna try and adapt some Burroughs, like you're gonna be. it's
That
gotta be
movie
a
was so
challenge.
beautiful. It
Yeah.
got subbed on so we should talk about that actually because Queer also deserved visual effects. It also deserved
acting.
probably production design,
Challenge
definitely
is
best
fucking deserves
actor.
visual effects, too.
Yeah. But I think Queer more so because like
Yeah.
there's just so much gorgeous like the visuals were insane.
Yeah, and inventive too.
Mm-hmm. Really beautiful, really creative. It really did a good job of like telling the story of like the author and of the actual book at the same time.
Nosferatu, I don't. Oh right, we're talking about adapted screenplay. Yeah, that should have.
Nosferatu totally deserved a nom for adapted screenplay. I mean, I said this already, but like having like been into Dracula lore from a young age, having read all of like the books and adjacent books, like they nailed the aesthetic so perfectly.
Adapted from plagiarism.
Conclave we predicted and we got. A Complete Unknown we predicted and we got. We also
was like a
predicted The
sub-prediction.
Apprentice as like a possible alternative, which I didn't get either.
Yeah. Writing, original screenplay. Last one before Best Picture. We got Nora. Yay. The Brutalist. A Real Pain, because of course it had to get that. September 5th. Yeah,
Okay.
we predicted Challengers, didn't get it. We predicted Baby Girl because it seemed like an Oscar movie. I guess what do I know? Didn't get it. But we did predict Nora and A Real Pain as well. Real Pain was super obvious. It's just like such a. It's like that movie is like made for that category. But yeah, I mean Nora, great to see, of course. Although there is usually a lot of improv in his movies, but not as much as you'd expect though. Like I watched the Red Rocket commentary and they were like, there's actually a funny bit where like what's his name, Simon Rex was like, oh, I improvised that bit, and then Sean Baker's like, no, you didn't. He's like, oh. But it was jest. It was funny. Anyway,
September 5th. What is September 5th?
it's like a movie about hostages and Israel, so kind of questionable.
Is it pro-Israel or pro-Palestine
I
or
don't know.
neither? I am predicting.
The Substance got one too.
Yeah. This is really hard. I mean, probably A Real Pain is going to get it. My pick is... I mean,
That
I could
would
go
be A
either
Real
way
Pain.
with Honora or The Brutalist. I wasn't expecting The Brutalist to compete with Honora with me for any of these categories, but I think I might pick The Brutalist. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I would pick Nora. I feel like it's more watertight, generally. Even though, I mean, I was gonna say they're even in length, but like I forgot that The Brutalist is like a whole hour longer than Nora. Yeah, I just feel like A Real Pain was so bland. I mean, I guess it's nice that it didn't get a director nom. That would be ridiculous. Jesse.
I mean, it was
Eyes
kind of
and
just like, it was like one of those movies that's just like, just like chill,
Yeah,
It's
which
like
works
kind of
for a
meant
lot
to
of
just be
people.
like, yeah, but I don't
Not
know
for
if
me.
like when something's just chill like that, it feels weird to me to like give it best anything.
Yeah, it just
noms.
doesn't feel like Oscar material. I don't know.
Yeah.
I get the like it's emotional.
It almost felt like it could have been like a short-term film though, in terms of like,
Yeah, it could.
like it had like about a short film's worth of like plot. It was just stretched out, which like I didn't feel the length particularly. Like it was fine that it was stretched out, but it is weird that it got nommed for this.
I remember you being
objectively.
really bored for a lot of that movie, actually.
Yeah, but that's just my personal
And
thing.
also saying this is too long, like multiple times. Well, whatever. Yeah, I pick Nora. I'm gonna predict the Substance not gonna get it, but it's cool that it got a nomination at least. Yeah, I mean, I feel like it's between The Brutalist and Real Pain. I'm just gonna pick The Brutalist.
My theory is that The Substance got so many noms because it's a horror movie essentially about Ozempic. And so all the celebrities voting could actually relate to it.
Yeah, maybe. I don't know. Okay, finally, we got Best Picture. 10 whole films.
Okay, so go ahead and read
And
our
Amelia
predictions.
Perez got 3 of them. We predicted Dune Wicked, Conclave Nora, A Complete Unknown, Baby Girl, The Apprentice. Those did not get chosen. Nickel Boys, Brutalist, and A Real Pain, which also did not get chosen. And Challengers, a little bonus in there.
Yeah. So we actually got almost all of them. We only missed 3. So instead of Baby Girl, The Apprentice, and A Real Pain, we got...
I mean, this was the most likely that we get most of them right, to be fair, because it's 10.
Yeah, so I'm Still Here. We didn't predict.
Yeah. Did we predict Amelia Perez? No, we didn't.
No, we
We
didn't.
didn't put a single foreign film in there. There were 2 foreign films.
What was
after
the
all.
other one here that we didn't?
Wicked.
We didn't predict the
for some reason.
substance. The substance.
Oh no, it's the substance, right? We did predict Wicked.
Yeah, we predicted
Yeah.
Wicked. There's one more. We didn't predict Amelia Perez. We didn't predict Wicked. Did we predict Nickel Boys and I'm Still Here? Nickel Boys, yes. I'm Still Here, we did not. So that's the third one.
Yeah, we should have predicted I'm Still Here.
Yeah.
Honestly, it's really big, or maybe it was less big at the time of the predictions. I don't know.
So what's your pick for this category?
What's my pick? My pick is Anora. I wish Memoir of a Snail got a nomination in this category, obviously.
If it did, that would have been my pick.
Is probably my favorite movie of the year. I don't know. I want to watch it again, though, as well.
So I have recency bias. I'm always most in love with the movie I saw more recently. And I just saw The Brutalist, so I kind of want to...
You're going to pick it over the Sean Baker film.
Well, I'm deciding.
That's cray-cray.
Yeah, I don't know. Again, it's a toss-up between The Brutalist and Anora.
Oh, yes.
So I'm going to sit on it a little bit.
No, just say The Brutalist.
No, I genuinely don't know if it's The Brutalist yet, but now you've made it seem like I'm just caving.
Yeah.
So you should have kept your mouth shut.
I'm sorry. I'm so sorry.
Yeah, no, I don't know. I'm going to sit on it a little bit.
Alex Coco. Hey, Samantha Kwan. Yeah, Mary Parent. Just reading the names. Yeah, this is a weird Best Picture because like none of them seem like super obvious Best Picture picks, except for like Wicked because it was popular, and The Brutalist because it's like epic. And it says nominees to be determined. Get it together, you guys.
Yeah, Jesus Christ.
Like apparently on the day of announcing, they just said nominees to be determined like 40 times throughout the clip, and it's like
so weird.
And like the hosts were like, guys, get it together. Yeah, it's weird. I don't know. Like, oops. A Complete Unknown seems too lame to get it. Anora seems too good to get it. Dune Part 2 seems too like blockbustery to get it.
Well, I just didn't get nominated for enough other categories.
Yeah, that too. Conclave, I don't know. It just doesn't seem like it would get it, right? It seems like a peripheral one. Amelia Perez, it feels like it shouldn't get it, but what do we know, I guess. I'm Still Here. I mean, that's a foreign language film. They don't tend to do that very often. Nickel Boys barely got any other nominations.
Amelia Perez got the most Oscar noms this year.
Yes.
So,
that's technically the most likely.
Unfortunately, in terms of predictions, it seems like it might get it.
Yeah, and The Substance is The Substance. So it's like, yeah, weird smattering of films here. Yeah, I mean, I would pick Anora. I think it's the best one. Not just because of my bias for Baker Sean. But, I don't know. I'm going to predict The Brutalist. I'm just going to fucking do it. It seems like it could win, honestly. And it would be cool if it did.
I'm going to pick either The Brutalist or Anora. I'm going to predict Amelia Perez.
Enough said.
God.
Yeah. Like, The Brutalist seems like something that, like, would get Best Picture, and then everybody would come out and be like, why did they give Best Picture to this movie? No one's watched it. That said, I guess it's time to transition. Okay, it's time to get into the part that involves some real thinking. The Brutalist is what we saw. The big new hot new film from Mr. Brady Corbett. New kid on the scene. Yeah, I've seen this movie twice now. I've seen it on 2 different formats.
Yeah, Max has seen it in 75 millimeter, 70 millimeter and 35 millimeter.
Yeah, and I saw it at TIFF, and there was a vibrating caffeine addict next to me the entire film, which was a bit distracting.
Every time you say that, I picture, when you say vibrating, I picture something different.
Okay. Well, anyway, I think I preferred the second viewing a bit.
So you texted me after the intermission of this movie and said that like you were really impressed that it was like one of Adrian Brody's like best performances, and then when you came home from the movie you said that it really fell off on the second half. That was your perspective the first time seeing it, which I think may have been influenced by your father who texted you the same thing. But anyways,
no, I'm not that easily influenced.
Sure.
By my father.
But yeah, do you want to elaborate on why you liked the first half but not the second half?
Well, that seems to be the prevailing criticism of this movie, actually. Everybody seems to say that, like, The first half is so much better. And even when I was walking out of the theater, there was a woman who was like, "Oh, the second half really fell off." Yeah, it seems like 10 years from now we're gonna look back and be like, "The Brutalist, that's that movie that the second half was way worse."
I don't think so. A lot of people said that about There Will Be Blood at the time.
My dad did.
Your dad
That's
did.
about it.
No,
Yeah.
he's not the only one. Other people have said it. They were
I
wrong.
wasn't around in 2007.
I was going in fully expecting the second half to suck, and I am so confused, which is why I'm really excited, because you've been holding out on sharing your opinion about the second half,
you've been
because
aching to talk about
I
this
loved
one.
the second half. I
Oh.
liked it just as much as the first half.
Ooh.
So, yeah, I really loved the whole movie. I don't understand what the issue is with part two.
Yeah, well, first of all, Adrian Brody was great. Probably his best performance ever.
Yeah,
Question mark?
Darjeeling, his performance in Darjeeling was good, but this character had
Penis,
more,
all of the penis.
I think the most range. And his acting was just like, there was so much subtle stuff. I don't know how much of that was like directing, how much of that was acting. I'm sure it was like a combination of the two, but there was so much communicated just through his like facial expressions.
Yeah.
So good, so good.
A lot of like deep-seated pain that you can feel.
Okay, come on, you're beating around the bush. What was your deal with the second
I
half?
don't want to get to that immediately. Let's talk about the good stuff.
Okay.
In the first half, which is the only half with good stuff. I'm just kidding. I mean, first of all, the opening of the film, pretty. Why don't you say something about the opening of the film?
Okay. I don't know. A cat got your tongue. So, I mean, the camera work was cool. I was saying to Max earlier that it reminded me a bit of the camera work in Irreversible, because there was like a lot of like shakiness, and the camera was like doing like full 360-degree rotations. The cuts into like in and out of like blackness. Just kind of the chaotic camera work was very Noé-esque. So that was pretty cool. Opening sequence was very strong.
Yeah, it might be my favorite start to a movie of any movie this year. I gotta say, it might be my favorite part of the entire movie. And then like once it's over, I'm kind of sad. I just want to keep rewatching that part over and over again.
This is a bit of a minor thing, but I really liked the visual aesthetics of like the little title cards for each of the sections. They were cool. They reminded me of like a record sleeve or something. And yeah, I really enjoyed the sound. Like, yeah, I just felt like very brought into the movie and immersed in the movie from like the first opening moments.
Yeah, and like the scene with Zofia, like yeah, it's really interesting, and it sets up really well like her lack of speech for most of the movie, because like I don't know, she's just kind of like panicking and like she's being yelled at. You don't really know if like she's in danger or like what's happening, but like I guess she's like kind of being brought to safety, but there's still like this really stressful energy of it, and that keeps going through like the boat scene where he's like waking up and like trying to get off the boat, and you're like not really sure like where he is or what's happening, and it just keeps going, and it's so intense, and like it's dark, and like the music is just like punching you in the face.
Yeah, super disorienting.
Yeah, it's really fucking crazy and awesome. And then when he like breaks out of the doors and like the bright light just like hits you, legitimately pretty awe-inspiring, I gotta say. And like I especially love the shot of the Statue of Liberty as like the camera pans up. That's like just such a perfect image to like start the movie off.
Yeah, and
so
like
unique.
on paper when you say it, it feels corny, but it was like really well executed in the actual film.
Yeah, big mixture of emotions.
Yeah. Very little dialogue, and the dialogue that was there didn't really serve to like make it clear what was going on, but you didn't really like need the dialogue to explain to you what was happening, because the imagery was like so well done that you just kind of like figure out like what's going on and like what it's about, just based on the editing and the visuals, which is why I think that this movie is a great contender for best editing.
Yeah, there's like a whole like prologue bit before like it really starts going. Yeah, this first and the second time, but especially the second time, it's hard to imagine this movie actually being 3.5 hours long, because it really doesn't feel like it's 3.5 hours long. There are movies that are way shorter that felt longer.
Yeah. I didn't even feel like it needed the intermission, and Max knows I struggle to sit through some longer movies, but this movie was very easy to sit through.
Yeah. There's been a lot of comparisons to like There Will Be Blood and The Master. How do you feel about that?
I mean, I totally get it. One thing I will say is like, I feel like the PT comparisons come from two places, and one I agree with more than the other. So like obviously like in terms of it being like a accurate piece of like historical fiction that's like an intense character study with a lot of like crazy production design, you know, and like making like a gigantic building for it and everything. Like, yeah, obviously that harkens back to The Master. The other comparison that I think probably gets made between them is just like, I don't know, I feel like they're both male directors that have more of like a female gaze when it comes to like the way that they shoot some of their movies, like especially like if you contrast like Paul Thomas Anderson or I guess a Brady Corbett to like a Quentin Tarantino. It's just like a very different energy. But like I don't think that makes them the same. I think we're just more used to like expecting a very like masculine energy from male directors, and it's nice to see another director that doesn't feel that way. So yeah, do I think that like it was like ripping off Paul Thomas Anderson, or was it overly derivative? No, I don't.
Okay.
I mean, one of the big things for me is that like, especially with The Master, right, is a character study of a completely different kind of character. Like, you know, like you're following an antagonist, whereas in this movie you're following a protagonist.
I feel like the biggest similarities kind of comes down to like the editing and the tone, I guess. Like especially in the first half, like it feels somewhat similarly paced to like parts of The Master and There Will Be Blood. There's also like the soundtrack choices as well that like, yeah, just the use of soundtrack, I guess, and like the background and like some of like the tongue-in-cheek aspects of it, like with the gargling water guy that shows up in one scene. That's kind of an odd little thing there. And I did feel like some of the shots were a little bit reminiscent, like some of the long takes and like the shot of them in the store and like the early parts of the movie that like kind of just drifts around the store. That felt very like PTA-ish. But like, I don't know, there were less similarities with the visual style, or I guess I picked up on more like unique aspects of the visual style on like the second watch. And like all of like the architectural shots felt super unique and super cool. Like not even just like the building that they're building, but like other buildings as well. So you want to know my thoughts on the second half?
Yes, I do.
Okay, well, I really liked where everything was building, and but I don't know, the second half, there's a lot of good things that I really love about the second half, don't get me wrong, but there are other parts that just felt a little more like generic, I guess. There were points when Adrian Brody's performance just became a little less believable, generally speaking.
Like when?
I don't know, just the parts where he's like, he starts like, when things go wrong, because, you know, there always has to be that part of the movie, and like, he starts throwing all of his architecture stuff, and he's like, it's over, and it's just, it's very like over the top, in a way that I didn't think it needed. Like, I was really enjoying like the subtlety of his performance up until that point, but like he starts getting real angry and like yelling at everybody, and it's like, okay, yeah, this is kind of to be expected, I guess. And like there are points when like his wife starts like getting mad at him too, and she's like, you egotistical man. I'm like, yep, I get it, he's egotistical. And it's like, I don't know, the whole like part where things go wrong, I'm not gonna go so far to say it's like just kind of a generic beat to have in the story, because like I like the train explosion scene. That was really well done and everything, and like I guess what it's like saying about like responsibility and like the legal stuff that they end up going through with like the accident and everything. I don't know. It's like right after that we basically just get going again. Like he takes like a small break and like we cut over that and then he just gets back to building the building. So it's like I don't know. Did it need to happen as much as like other things? I don't know, because it was all just very like brief, and it didn't feel like it was saying that much, or at least not that much stuff that other movies haven't said about the same thing. You know what I mean?
I think it was less important to be like illustrative of like, I don't know, the economy at the time or whatever, and more important for like the character dynamic between him and what's his face.
Harrison Van Buren.
Harrison Van Buren, right? Because like there's like red flags with Harrison Van Buren from the beginning, obviously. With just like, you know, his tantrum and everything, and then just like the way that like his family like kind of reacts to him, right? Because like there's this whole undertone of like, is he accepted or is he like looked down upon, right? And so then that like tension starts to build again, and like him just getting like scrapped from the project, and like even like leading up to the accident, he's slowly like being pushed out of the project in various ways. I think it's just like important for like the dynamic between those two characters.
Yeah, that makes sense. And yeah, I get like what it's doing with like the it's like always like having his art like taken away from him, and that's all cool too. But again, it was like it's not like the most like unique thing I've like ever seen, I guess, even though it is really well done. But you know, it's like kind of over the top as well. Like he's mad that like they're changing things, and it's like about like your relationship with art and all that. I don't know. It's just a little too unsubtle for me, even though there's really good things about it. I don't know. There's other movies like it, obviously, that like do similar things with like art and like I guess metaphors for filmmaking, and some of them are literally just about filmmaking. And I don't know. I kind of like those better because they're more subtle, I guess. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it makes sense. I think for me, I was like reading it. I don't know if this is just repeating myself, but less as like being about art and more about being like the sociopolitics.
Yeah, that's fair.
So it worked for me. I also just like I've been like thinking over what you said, and I'm thinking like, is there a way that I would have rathered it go? And I don't know, like, is there a way you would have preferred for it to have gone?
Well, I don't know. I get what you're saying about like the politics and everything. That makes sense because like the entire movie, it's like there's like undertones of everybody looking down on him because he's an immigrant, and like you notice that even I noticed that even more on a second watch, even just like with people's body language and all this stuff. Like there's a lot of people who are just kind of like staring blankly at him, like they don't really like take him that seriously.
The
for a
son
lot
and
of
the
it.
daughter are kind
Yeah.
of always like kind of just like snidely like laughing at him. There's the comment that Van Buren makes about like his wife like teaching him how to speak properly. There's like the racist comments that they make about his friend.
Yeah, and it's like I can see it being more like overt with that stuff because like he's getting more pushback than he would if he wasn't like an immigrant, I guess. But I don't know. I guess it's more like his reaction to it that like I just didn't buy as much. Like I just thought it was like
That's so funny to me, having watched you get very frustrated over much more minor setbacks in your own creative process, that you'd be surprised that he might, you know, like throw some papers on the ground. That seemed totally realistic and normal to me.
I guess so. I don't know. It's just about the tone, I guess. Like maybe if it was just a little bit more intricately written instead of him just saying like it's over like over and over again.
But that's in line with his character too, you know, like he's very quick to give up. Like what he gave like zero pushback when he wasn't going to get paid for like making that library, you know, like he kind of just like expects it. He kind of just shuts down. And I think like the difference is like in the first place, you know, he's like, yeah, I'm an immigrant. Nobody likes me. My life is destroyed. I feel like super like pushed down. So like he's almost like he's not even surprised almost when they get dropped from the library job. But I think he actually was kind of like believing and like hoping that like maybe he was actually like getting the recognition that he deserved, that he was actually being respected. And so I think it kind of just like snapped for him to like have that dangled in front of his face and then like ripped away again.
Yeah, that makes sense. I don't know. I just didn't buy it as much, I guess. I don't know if you can even really explain why. because like everything else about Adrian Brody's character is just like so engrossing, and that was just kind of like, okay, now he's like kind of, really going for the
Well, he's usually
big
so emotionally
swings.
repressed, but it makes sense to me. Like, again, I mean, you either buy it or you don't, but to me, like, it made sense that, like, that would just be, like, something that snapped for him.
Yeah, and like I want to like it more when you like talk about how it makes sense, because it does kind of make sense, but it's just like when I was watching it, it just kind of pulled me out of it, which is a shame. Yeah, it's not really many other complaints I have with the second half. I mean, we can get to the ending a little bit later, which really confused me on the first watch. Um, but yeah, I feel like there were still a lot of really great scenes in the second half, though. Like really great long sequences, like the stuff in the marble quarry. That was all super cool, don't you think? Um,
Yeah, the marble quarry shots were really gorgeous. Yeah, like I can see what like I definitely agree. Kind of like the middle of the movie was the weakest part. I wouldn't even break that into like first half, second half though, because like the end of the first half felt like a little like less engaging for me. And sure, I can agree that like the beginning of the second half wasn't my favorite part either, but like the beginning of the movie and the end of the movie were so great for me, and like the middle was just like not as good. It wasn't even like bad, so I really can't complain. And maybe they didn't quite nail it, but it felt necessary to connect the beginning and the end together, so I'm cool with it.
yeah, I guess so. There are a lot of like cool montages as well that like kind of tie the whole thing together. Like how the first half ends with like the narration or the letter, I guess, which is also pretty clever because the whole movie started with her reading a letter out loud to him, and that's how the first half ends.
Am I like understanding correctly that like you liked the ending of the movie, you just didn't like the middle of the movie? Like, do you feel similarly, or did you also dislike the ending?
Okay, well, the first time I watched it, I did not like the ending. I mean, the last part and like the main storyline is like really really good, I think. With like the accusation and everything. That's all like one shot, I guess. Yeah, so it's like that was a powerful scene for sure. And I didn't think it was going to go there, honestly. But like it's pretty satisfying when you're watching it, don't you think? Like that she's like calling him out. I don't know, it's also just nice to see that like she knows about it and she's like standing up for him and everything. Like that was really
Yeah, I
refreshing.
really liked the scene where like he gives her the heroin, and then like the sex scene after that, and like the scene in the hospital. Like the accusation scene was like great or whatever, but like my favorite parts of the movie were those three scenes. I thought they
Really?
were so beautiful. That was also like what my favorite part of his performance. Like again, like it just felt like really like subtle. Yeah, I don't know, I just found that whole thing like really beautiful, and it's something that like I've replayed like a lot in my head, and just yeah, I don't know.
That's very fascinating because I like that scene, but it's not one of like the standout moments to me, I guess. Although I do really like it.
They're so like I just felt like these two people that love each other very much, like they just felt like really like connected, like in that moment. Like you really like felt their love for each other, and kind of like the walls that he put up like came down. And it was like really nice to see, and I don't know, I found it to be like a very like joyful moment in its own way.
Yeah, I just think it's like unavoidably depressing with like basically watching them both get addicted to heroin. Like that really like bums me out for the most part. Even though it makes sense and everything, but it was just like I don't know, I didn't feel much joy during that part, if I'm being honest.
Yeah, I mean, that's valid as well. But you know, I think it's like more complicated than that. Like she has like a chronic illness that
Yeah,
like
that's
causes
true.
immense pain, you know. Like there's like context where like these types of like you know, it's a very like nuanced like situation, and like obviously it's like sad and fucked up that like for both of them that's kind of like the only thing that they have to like treat their suffering, but it also like allows for them to like have that moment of like connection and like intimacy that like otherwise they probably never would have had that discussion. And I think it was like ultimately like good for their relationship. So, but I can see how you would feel that way too.
Yeah, and on that note, when she was like when she's kind of trying to like jumpstart their like sex life at the beginning of the first half or the second half, you know, like
Yeah.
kind of making advances on him, which is also pretty refreshing. But like, you know, where she's like, oh, like I saw everything that you were doing, and like I was like basically there or whatever. It's like I know about all this stuff, and it's like I kind of like that as like almost a surreal-ish thing, because like I mean she has like no actual way of like knowing what he did, but like you can like sort of feel this deep connection between them, where you can almost like imagine that she could know about the things that he was doing, even though that doesn't make physical sense, obviously. But like, you know, we as an audience know what he was up to, and like her like kind of addressing that, I thought like deepened their relationship in a really interesting way, and in a way that like I don't know, you can take literally and non-literally almost. Do you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, that's like interesting to hear you say that. I found that part like a little bit confusing.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, it's so weird because like I found that scene like a little bit like uncomfortable.
Yeah, I don't love that scene like besides that, honestly, but I do like that aspect of it.
But well, yeah, also like I was confused. Like, what do you think she was talking about? Do you think she was talking about the heroin?
No,
Because
I
like
think like
he goes and he visits one hooker and he can't even like get off, and then like that's it, right? He doesn't have sex with anyone else after that. So I was like, what is she talking about? Like he didn't do anything.
I mean, the first time I watched it, I had this inkling that he was bi.
Yeah,
Actually.
same. Like I thought maybe he was like sleeping with the other guy, but it's
Yeah.
like left like unspoken.
It does, yeah. They like if that was a thing, then it wasn't really seen through that much, because like he just kind of goes off by the wayside. So yeah, it's hard to really assess that, honestly. It might be a thing, it might not be a thing.
It's true. Like I kind of assumed that it wasn't because it never like spoke to it directly, but I did like also have that like question mark. They're definitely like very close. But yeah, I guess if you did read it as like that being a thing, then that would be different. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, it's hard to say.
And it's possible too, I don't know, because it depends on like whose perspective you feel like the movie is from, because like there are certain things that like are not shown on film that you could, I guess, think of as like things that like he's like repressed, because you actually like also don't see the scene where he confesses to her, and he also says that he doesn't remember doing that. So like there's like an argument that could be made telling her.
Oh.
Yeah, right. No, he doesn't remember telling her. She's like, do you remember? And he's like, no, he doesn't remember. And you also don't see that scene.
Yeah, I forgot about that.
Which is like really interesting. So like arguably, you know, if like his sexuality is also repressed, like you might not see the scenes where like he and the other guy have sex, because maybe that's something else that like he's kind of repressed.
Yeah. And also, doesn't he say at the beginning that like he doesn't like pussy or something? Like,
no, she asks him if he wants to because like he can't get it off with the hooker, and then she's like, do you want to see a man? Like, we have men.
Yeah,
she even specifically says we have black men.
Yeah.
So like implying that maybe like she thinks that like that would be like something that like he's into, but then like he declines.
No, but earlier on, I'm pretty sure he says like, she's like, oh, do you like my thighs? And he's like, yeah, it's just the part in the middle that I'm not like a fan of.
Oh, does
like,
he?
I think so. Like, I definitely heard that the first time I saw it, and like the second time it was, I don't know, it was just the audio, but like I didn't understand it as well. But I'm pretty sure that's a line in the movie.
Yeah, that's a possibility. I didn't think of that, or like I didn't notice that, but that would put it into perspective as well, and it would also make more sense why she said that.
Yeah, and then like when Felicity Jones shows up, I'm like, when I'm watching their first sex scene, I'm like thinking like the entire time, like, oh, he's actually gay though. Or that was the first time. That was what I thought the first time I watched it.
Yeah.
But then like it kind of, that doesn't really pan out that way. So it's like, and they do like have a sex life after that.
I read it differently. I read it like on my first viewing as like he couldn't have sex with the hooker because like he felt guilty, or because like he wasn't in love with her, and maybe he's like demisexual or whatever, or maybe like his thoughts were with his wife or whatever.
That's
Or
another
and then
interpretation for
also
sure.
like when he couldn't have sex with his wife, I didn't know, like, because we don't know like what happened to him. We know that he said that he spent time in the camp, so like there could already be like trauma there. Like there could be so many reasons why,
Yeah.
like just sexually, like he's kind of like, he seemed very like detached from that. So yeah, I don't know, who's to say.
Yeah, but going back to the accusation scene thing, I don't know. I just thought it was satisfying because, like, I can imagine a different movie, like, never addressing that and it stays repressed, or, like, he doesn't tell his wife about it and he's, like, not able to talk about it and she's unable to understand, like, be with him in that. But, like, you know, she does, and then she, like, addresses it.
Yeah, I felt that same satisfaction. Again, though, it's interesting, like, where we felt the climax of that, because, like I said, like, I felt the climax of that with, like, the sex scenes in the hospital scene,
Yeah.
not with the accusation scene. Like, I don't think that, like, I would have needed the accusation scene to feel like that arc came, like, full circle, because, like, gives a fuck about Van Buren at the end of the day.
Well,
It was nice, though, that, like, the last scene with Van Buren is just, like, he's missing. Like, essentially, like, he just runs away.
yeah.
And then, like, you never hear from him or care about him again.
How do you read that scene? Because I've been thinking about that choice a lot.
I like that it left it up in the air. It's like, who cares how he handled it? Like, who cares if, like, he killed himself or not? Like, the important thing is that, like, he ran away. I don't know. I liked that it left it like that because, like, he's not important.
Yeah, I guess so. I kind of feel like it's like making a statement about the art itself in a way, and it's like the shit that like happened that was like terrible or whatever to like create the art, I guess. And like what happened to Laszlo, like it does just sort of vanish, and like Van Buren's character just sort of vanishes, and he vanishes like within the piece of art as well, and like all that's left is the art, and that's what's going to be standing after all of this, and nobody's really going to think about the dude anymore, which can be a positive or a negative thing depending on how you look at it. But like I definitely think there's like a connection between like that accusation coming to light and then immediately it just kind of like vanishing into thin air, and like his own character kind of just vanishes into like the building in a way, and then that's just like the end of the whole like main story, I guess. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that makes sense.
And the score is like going crazy at that point. It's great to like see in a theater because like the bass just like really vibrates through the whole room.
It's interesting because, like, and this is one of the things that I think sets it aside from something like The Master or There Will Be Blood, is like both of them are like very focused on like studying like a singular character and an era more than anything, and like a movement. I feel like at its core, the more that I think about it, the more confident that I feel that like The Brutalist is ultimately a love story. Especially like with the end, especially like with the speech at the end where like they clarify that like the building is like not just like representative of him, but like also representative of like her, and like in some weird ways like their dynamics with each other. Yeah, I don't know, like I feel like the core of the story is like their relationship with each other.
Yeah, and there are those like multiple montages of the building being built, like as you're getting the information about their relationship as well. It's like it feels like it's kind of trying to like intrinsically link the two.
Yeah, and the climax of the movie isn't about the building. Like the building kind of like fades into relevance, out of relevancy in the same way that Van Buren does, and like it transitions to being like about their relationship, which is cute.
Yeah. On the subject of PTA, I don't know, I do think there's a strong difference when it comes to like I guess my enjoyment of them and like the tone of them, because I feel like PTA, the way he like makes movies about America, I guess, they feel a lot like weirder, you know, like the dialogue is like weirder and like more kind of genuine and out there in a way, and like there's sort of like almost like an iconoclastic like approach to how he like portrays certain things. There's just like there's such like a weird and like almost horror-ish like tone to like There Will Be Blood, for example.
Yeah, it's a weird contrast because his characters feel more almost archetypal than like feeling like a specific person, yet at the same time the dialogue feels so like realistic and like personal.
Yeah.
It's like a weird combination when you actually think about it.
Yeah, and the Brutalist feels like more of like a genuine like look into like America, and like it's trying to like I guess honor it in more of a way than like PTA tends to do, and I feel like that's like a big difference with it until
What do you mean by honor it?
I don't know, it's just like the characters feel like more like I guess he feels more sympathetic towards them. There is sort of like a romanticization, I don't know, however you say that, towards I guess the American dream in a way.
Really?
I mean, like, I know it's like there are ironic aspects to it, but like just the tone of it itself like feels more like comforting, I suppose, and like not as like overtly condemning.
I did not feel that at all. I felt like the character comes into America with maybe a more glazed over like perspective of what it might have to offer, and that kind of like reaches a climax by like halfway through the movie, and then like the second half of the movie is like a re-disillusionment.
Yeah, I mean, they're going for such different things as well, so like it makes sense, because like with There Will Be Blood or something, that is like an American man who is like, you know,
who achieves
like
the American
penetrating
dream.
the earth and like casting away like everybody around him in order for like greed and everything. So like there obviously has to be a different approach versus like somebody who's like legitimately buying into the American dream in a way and like kind of looks at it through like rose-colored glasses, I suppose.
Well, because you have two very different characters, right? You have a character who sets out to achieve the American dream, is in the body where, you know, he will, if you're thinking about There Will Be Blood, he does achieve the American dream, but like he's a horrible person and he dies a horrible person and is miserable because of it. Whereas in the second case, you have a good person who maybe doesn't even necessarily fully buy the American dream, but is like kind of desperately needs the American dream to like work out for himself, isn't really able to properly achieve the American dream because he doesn't exist in the right body, and he'll never be fully let in, which like he realizes like again halfway through. But he's centered and his experience is centered, and he still wins because he is a good person. And he does achieve like those close relationships, and he's like contrasted with Van Buren, who reminds me in so many ways of Daniel Plainview. You know, like Van Buren is kind of like Daniel Plainview after he's like achieved everything,
Kind
you
of,
know.
yeah. But he seems a little more like he's trying to like nurture, or he seems jealous of Laszlo in a way. 'Cause,
He is
like,
jealous of Laszlo.
He can do things that he can't, and all he can really do is just like buy the things that like, you know, the beauty that Laszlo can introduce into the world.
Well, that's exactly it, right? Is like he's achieved it and he's miserable, and he sees that even though he can like bar Laszlo from like attaining like whatever like status or like wealth or whatever that he has, like Laszlo has something that he doesn't.
Yeah, very true. But all that said, I do think there is like an iconoclasm that
What are you trying to say, iconoclast, or like are you doing a play on classism?
No, I do mean iconoclast, but like the ism version.
Don't know if that's a word.
It might not be. I'm trying to figure it out.
Iconization? What are you trying? Do you want to define that term?
Well, let's just look up a definition. Iconoclasm. That is the term. An action of attacking or assertively rejecting cherished beliefs and institutions or established values and practices. So yeah, that is what I mean.
Okay.
And like I feel like that does come through, not just in like the themes, but also like just the filmmaking itself. When you get to the end and like there's the whole epilogue bit, and like there's such an insane like shift of tone and like style and aesthetic, especially with the soundtrack, which is interesting because at that point you get a bunch of shots of like Gothic architecture, you know, the shots of like buildings in Venice and everything, which is so incredibly different from like the modernism of like the brutalism that you see throughout the first bit of the movie.
Well, it's the contrast between pre-war art and post-war art.
Yeah. So yeah, what did you think of like the last bit? Because that really like rubbed me the wrong way the first time I watched it, at least, and now I'm just kind of confused about my feelings around the whole thing.
So what rubbed you the wrong way about it?
I just didn't like the soundtrack choice. I thought it sounded bad. Basically, I just didn't like it. Like
I didn't super notice it, so I couldn't really comment on the
Okay.
music specifically, but if you want to share your thoughts about it,
Well, it
then
was very like synthy and like 80s-y, and like the beat like comes in. It's like, what is happening right now? And I guess it just like wasn't.
probably just to move it forward in time, right?
Yeah, and I just didn't vibe with the production of it at the time. And then it gets even weirder when you get to the credits song, which is like extremely like happy and uplifting after like this incredibly brutal film. So yeah, the first time I just left the theater like super confused and like off-put basically. And I felt like the entire epilogue part like wasn't really needed, like aesthetically. But this time it like, I guess knowing what to expect, I didn't have such like a visceral reaction to it. Like I just kind of accepted the music for what it was, and actually I didn't like hate it in the same way, I gotta say. And then like the credit song kind of, I don't know, it kind of put a smile on my face, which I wasn't really expecting.
I don't know, it made sense to me. Like the music brings you forward in time, right? You can even like argue there's like a contrast, right? Because again, like the art with like the Venetian architecture, it comes from like a time of prosperity, and then the brutalist architecture comes in the wake of like World War II, you know, so it's reflective of a depressing time. And then like the 80s, I mean the 80s was fucked, but the 80s did definitely like feel, you know, it's like post-Vietnam, and for a lot of people it was like a time of like excitement, and so
Yeah.
there's like that renewed vision. It felt like victorious for like Laszlo, because you see that like that building was just like the beginning of like his career, and he was able to make like so many beautiful buildings, and he's left behind a legacy and like a family who loves him. Like, you know, despite everything, it kind of feels like in his own way like Laszlo was like the winner of the movie,
Yeah.
which is nice. And so the epilogue for me just felt like a summation of like that, and like again that like Van Buren is like forgotten, but like Laszlo's art like lives forever, and he's there, he's alive, you know, like
Yeah, and his
hopefully
legacy.
he kicked his heroin habit. He probably did, because he's like ancient and he's still, you know, there. So like, you
Yeah,
know,
and his legacy is being communicated for him,
Mhm.
which is very interesting. And I'm still trying to figure out how to read that aspect of it.
by Zofia, who
Uh-huh.
doesn't speak, you know, like it's like it speaks to like healing, I think, on multiple levels, because like she
Yeah.
gets to a place where like she's like able to talk again, and like she communicates the things that like he doesn't necessarily say with words to anyone other than his wife, but that like comes through in his art. And it kind of implies that like it's something that he's spoken about to her too, because like she understands like the vision so well, and she's able to communicate that. And just like the family showing up, and like the love that's like so clearly like shared between them. The fact that Zofia is like wearing his wife's necklace in that scene, like it just speaks to like
You know what I'm
generational like healing in a way, and like strength and victory. And I don't know, I felt like beautiful, and like
I don't know. It's the kind of thing where like I was just, when the first time I saw it, I was like, okay, you guys are like doing too much, or like you're saying too much, or like I don't really understand like what you're trying to say. But like I might have just felt that way because I didn't get it yet. I just have to watch it more times. I don't know. But like now I'm kind of in the middle, and like I feel like I have to watch it another time to like fully get on board with it, or fully like not be on board with it. And it kind of reminds me of like Magnolia or something, you know, because like there are like certain things where like sometimes I'm like really into it and I get why he did that, and then there are some times where it just like rubs me the wrong way. or like not in the mood for it or something. Yeah, I can see myself changing my mind and then changing it back and like just like continuing to like argue with myself over this, but it's not the same experience I get when I watch like There Will Be Blood or something, where it's like the last bit of dialogue is like, yes, this is like perfect and I understand exactly what this is going for, and it's like hitting like it's sticking the landing like in such a perfect way.
Yeah,
know?
I mean, there's something to be said for the comparison that you made between like this and Magnolia, because like in both of those, like I know like the sudden like jarring like switch of like style and like important like character, like yeah, it's just like different, and it feels like it is an epilogue.
Yeah.
And so when it kind of feels like the movie has two endings, because it could have ended with like them like wandering through his like building, and that would have been a phenomenal ending as well.
Yeah.
So then it's kind of like a question of like, okay, well, like which one is a better ending? They're both good endings. I really think it would have been great if it ended where it did, but I also like liked the ending that they put at the end, and it kind of like changes the feel of the movie, and again makes it more like explicitly like joyful, which is nice, right? And it's kind of interesting because it's the same conversation with Magnolia. I think he put that beginning because he wanted people to like get it, and I think he was worried after Boogie Nights was like misinterpreted that like he needed to be like more obvious, or else not enough people would get it. And it feels like almost you could argue it's the same thing here, because like I do get it, right, when it's like more subtle, and it has the more subtle ending that it's like joyful for all the reasons that I talked about, where it's like Van Buren doesn't matter, his art lives on, like he kind of wins. But maybe he just wanted that to be more obvious, and I'm okay with that.
Yeah, maybe. That would make sense. I've seen people like really like, I mean, some people really dislike the use of like video cinematography at the end, and then some people really vibe with it. I don't know where I fall on that.
I liked it. It immersed me in the era. It might be an age thing, because early 2000s felt like that. Like that's what like video footage, like I've been to like, you know, like the Lithuanian like national like dancing convention, and like to like a lot of it reminded me of like Eastern European like things that like I did as like a child, and was palette. To the color palette, the vibes, just everything about it. And I felt like the VHS quality really like brought you to that time, and I feel like that's important, because then it brings you back to like, this was like what happened in the generations before you were born, and this is how it connects to like the generations and the culture that like I was just starting to like emerge into the world in, and then you can connect that to like now. So I think it kind of did like an interesting thing with time in that way, where it kind of like grounds it to the present, if that makes sense.
Yeah, in a way it kind of reminds me of like Tar a little bit, like how the Tar ended, where it's like there's this like very huge sense of like moving forward, I guess, and like also the soundtrack and the credits of that movie is also extremely weird given the rest of the film. And also kind of reminds me of another movie that did a really weird thing with time at the towards the end, which I don't even want to say which movie it is because it's kind of a spoiler. I'd rather people just see it. But yeah, it's the first time I saw it, it just like didn't feel like as cool and radical as those movies, but I'm starting to come around to it slowly, and I will watch it again and see how I feel about it. And the whole movie is worth rewatching in my opinion, just for like that opening shot, honestly, because that shit is just so cool. Yeah, I mean, is there anything else to say at this point? Is there anything more?
I'm excited to watch it a second time. I really value movies that have a rewatch value, and this movie feels like something that I'll get something new out of each time I watch it for at least the next like 5 or 6 times. So that's cool. I think maybe we could close off with like a rating, like out of 10.
Yeah. So you're glad you saw it in a theater then? Because I kind of had to convince you to come out.
Yeah, okay. You guys don't understand. I have to like risk having to walk home at midnight through the snow for an hour. Yeah. So like it didn't feel. Also, you were saying that the second half wasn't that good, and it kind of fell off. So you really didn't do a good job of selling it.
But I really tried to sell the first half.
Yeah, but you know, like a 3-hour movie with an intermission, and the second half isn't that good, and you have to walk home through the snow for an hour afterwards. You know, you didn't sell it. But I'm
sorry.
Yeah, I'm glad I saw it in the theater.
Yeah, it's a good theater.
Yeah, so I know you don't like to like give anything like too high of a rating after you've only seen it one time, but currently, where do you sit with your rating?
Oh, I mean, I gave it 8 the first time I saw it, because even though I had issues with it, I thought the great parts were like really, really great. And it was kind of like a low 8 before. Like, I was just kind of like, okay, I gotta give it to you. But now I like legitimately kind of love it and love a lot of aspects with it. Although I still don't think it's perfect. It is super, super well paced and super well made. And it has a very distinct style that I've grown to appreciate more. Cool music. Yeah, I'd still give it like an 8.
So you kind of like drew attention to the fact that the middle is like maybe not perfect. Previously I was thinking about giving it a 10. I'm pretty quick to give 10s.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna give it like a high 9 for now, and then see how I feel on a couple of rewatches.
Okay, well that's fair. And I guess it's like one of your favorite movies of this year. I mean, it's one of my favorites too. And I'm interested to revisit it and keep discovering things about it, I guess.
I cannot stress like how much I love Adrian Brody. I kind of have a crush on Adrian Brody.
Yes.
His
should
age
watch,
has not affected that.
We should watch the Peter Jackson King Kong. He's like really young in that movie.
So yeah, I think he did great, and I'm really excited to see what comes next from this director, because it's always exciting to like watch a new director really come into his own, and I feel like that's what I just saw happen, so I'm super hyped for his next project.
Yeah, and the description looks really crazy for his next thing if it ever comes into fruition.